Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast Patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via DM on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but preferably via DM on Patreon. I'm joined as always by Carlo Garganese, and before we get to the first question, we were originally supposed to do a Juventus deep dive with our guest, but he had to reschedule, so we pushed that back a week. So we'll be doing the Q&A today, and then we'll be doing an episode on Wednesday as well. I think we decided we're going to do a review show because we haven't done one of those in quite a few weeks, so there's quite a bit of things to talk about, and then we'll get back to the Mercato stuff next week when we have Mirko on to do the Juventus one, and then the Q&A is back again next week on Wednesday. But we have quite a few questions sent in, so let's start with the first one sent in from Matty Mill. He says, "Hey gents, for the next Q&A, I know the Mercato's not over, but can you convince me why Napoli should not be the favorite for the Scudetto next season? Also, what could they do, or what would other teams need to realistically do with the balance of the Mercato to bottle what seems to be positive momentum and a top-grade start to the off-season?" Well, I mean, we can only look at how things look today, and right now, Napoli are in the best position. They've got one of the best managers in the world. They have the manager who was there last year and won them a Scudetto. They've strengthened properly. They've been able to sell Osimhen, it seems, and bring that money in, and are able to reinvest. So there is no doubt that right now, on July 21st, they're the favorites to win the Scudetto, no?
I think I see it 50-50 Inter Napoli. I do, especially now Inter are going to get Lookman. I think Inter are having a fantastic market. We've got a question on them after. I think they're having a fantastic market. The only advantage I would put over Inter is the manager, Conte versus Kivu, which is obviously important. Conte's a guarantee there, and Kivu's obviously young, so that's the advantage. But if I'm comparing the two squads, I would give Inter definitely the edge on the squads, and also they've got more experience and know-how on juggling more than one competition, which Napoli don't, and which Conte certainly is not good at. So I think it's shaping up to be a fantastic Scudetto, another fantastic Scudetto race between the two of them next season. But obviously, we'll see. Still over a month to go in the window, and we'll see what business both teams do between now and the end of August.
I think the only thing I'd say about Conte is that he's surprised us a lot this last year, in the sense that he's always been criticized of being too rigid, not being able to play in very many different ways, whilst last season he was very, very pragmatic, in the sense that he really worked hard to adapt the team to every single game. That'll be, he's going to have to do something similar to that, juggling Europe and the Serie A, which I think is also something he's tired of hearing about, and he wants to address that. So I as I said, I think I said last week, but I say, watch out for Napoli in Europe this season. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but I think they actually might have a deep run. I think Conte has a point to prove. Because I think he's very, very tired of hearing this, how he's always a failure in Europe and so on. And now that he's decided to stay in Napoli, and if he were to do something important, I mean, let's remember Napoli's greatest ever performance in the European Cup and in the Champions League is a quarterfinal set by Spalletti. If he were to beat that to get to a semi-final or a final, that would be just unbelievable. So, and it would definitely kind of continue this renaissance of him, relighting his star at the top of European football, which is what he wants to do. So I think, we need to watch out a little bit, see what happens there. That's the only thing. Other than that, I don't understand what you say. Inter have had a fantastic market. How have Inter had a fantastic market? They haven't bought anyone but Luis Enrique and Petar Sucic. That's it. Leoni isn't there. Lookman isn't there. No one's been signed.
They bought Bonny. They bought Lookman.
Bonny. These are
their attack is
Sucic, Luis Enrique to me so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Luis Enrique, but we'll come on to Inter after, and I'll explain.
Yeah. David says, "Ciao guys, I'll be traveling to China next week to visit family. I wanted to ask, what is both of your opinions on Chinese food? And I also wanted to ask what Wan Kwang Song, the North Korean player who played in Italy before COVID. I wanted to know how on earth did that transfer happened to Cagliari Juve? Was he genuinely a prospect, or was it more a political move? Plans are for me to moving to China in a year's time, so hopefully I'll be able to provide Serie A TV right stupidity for your Serie A section in the future. Thank you, and keep up the great work. I remember this Han Kwang Song thing, the North Korean player. What was that about? I've got some I don't remember.
I don't see how getting a North Korean player can commercially really help you, considering the country is like the most isolated country that there is.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure.
I don't see how that can really be commercial move. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess his career after that has probably told you whether that was a good decision or not. So where is he? I don't even know. I have no idea.
I have no idea. As for Chinese food, I mean, I think it's all right. I mean,
I love it.
My favorite. It's
not
not my favorite.
I love it. It's very addictive. It's very, very addictive.
Not my favorite, but it's not like it's all right. I mean, it depends also, like, because it's
Chinese food is very popular in England. It's very, very popular.
I know.
We have a lot of good. We have a lot of good Chinese restaurants
I
here.
know. I know.
You know, it's kind of fast foody, isn't it?
But that's the thing, though. Is that really Chinese food, or is that more like?
Well, that's
Western
it. Yeah, it's more.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I don't know because I've never been to China, so I can't answer that question for you. But yeah, I love it. I do love it.
I don't know. I think it's all right. It's not like I like spring rolls. I think they're nice. But
I like all the dishes: egg fried rice, the sweet and sour chicken, lemon chicken. Anything with kind of the battered dishes. Black bean sauce. I love that dish. There's so much. Yeah. Chow mein. I mean,
that's nice. Yeah.
I'm not massive on. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Igor Lipovat says, "Ciao guys, did you really forget Alen Boksic when talking about Croatian players in Serie A? And my question for the pod: do you remember Boksic, and what's your opinion on his time at Lazio and Juve? Also, Stanic was a right-wing centre-forward, far from a defender. He did play at wing-back sometimes, though, even at Chelsea. And also, damn, I forgot about Mandzukic. Fun fact, when I was a kid, I played against Mandzukic once or twice on the schoolyard, my neighbourhood versus his. That's brilliant. And later, when he was still a teen, watching his last game for my hometown club in Marsonia versus bitter regional rivals, Sibalia. I'm not sure if he scored, but he was 19 and definitely the best player in the league. Our team won 3-1, but it wasn't enough to get promoted to the top division because Sibalia already secured promotion earlier. After the final whistle, half of the home fans, including me, jumped over the fence and rushed to Mandzukic and the coach, picking them up and throwing them up in the air and singing, celebrating like we won the goddamn Champions League. Good memories. Still, if someone told me back then he'd have such a career, I'd say no way in hell, but he truly is an example of how hard work and dedication can really take you places. And finally, I understand why why Inter paid 25 million euros for Boni and Seba Esposito is going for 7 million euros, but I wonder if you agree. Asking because I see a lot of Inter fans commenting about the discrepancy in their prices. Cheers, and looking forward to the next season already with your pod.
All of our listeners have played against the legend.
I was going to say, it's brilliant, isn't it? I love it. Keep sending in these kind of stories.
Who was the Swede you played? Didn't you play against a Swede, or was it just in the playground with Glenn Stromberg? Who was it you played against?
No, he's born in he's 25 years old.
Yes, I know, but who was it in the playground that you played with?
Glenn Hussein. Look, Glenn Hussein, when he came back from Liverpool, he put his kids in the English school which I went to, and we used to play. And I told the story when I interviewed him, and we used to play like penalties with him on the school.
And he used to take it seriously and just smash it.
He smashed them against 8-year-olds standing in goal, and he used to bury them in the top corner, and I mean bang them in hard. And this one time I was in goal, and he smashed it onto the crossbar, and the ball exploded. That's how hard he kicked it. The ball broke. So yeah, he also told the story of he's done this all his life. So when he was training kids, he smashed the penalty onto a 10-year-old's hand, and he broke the 10-year-old's arm.
Oh my god!
And he was like, "Oh shit, I didn't mean it." Like, he's crazy.
No wonder Graham Souness didn't like him. Well, Graham Souness would have liked that actually, wouldn't he? Because Graham Souness was a bit of an animal, let's say.
Yeah, but Glenn is like the nicest person you will ever meet. He always has a smile on his face. He never he's just always funny and so he's not like at all like that. Like he wasn't like taking it. It's just that for him, football is serious. Do you know what I mean? And he doesn't mess about. And kids love him. We loved him because we loved the fact that he didn't pretend when we played against him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, he was brilliant. As for
Boksic, Boksic was Boksic. Well, yeah, Mandzukic we did forget, he should have been in, but Boksic was he was an animal. He was a monster. I mean, physically, a bit like Mandzukic actually in that sense. Like he was so strong. He had physically, he was so quick, and defenders used to bounce off him. Really good player. I liked him at Juventus. The only problem
as well, he scored one of the most beautiful goals I've ever seen in the Serie A when he came on as a substitute for Lazio when Sven-Göran Eriksson was there, and he did this little chip, this cucchiaio. It was just one of those.
I remember that. Was that against Sampdoria?
I think the game ends 6-3.
The goalkeeper applauded it as it was going over his head. I remember.
I think the game ended 6-3 or 6-4. And Enrico Chiesa scored like twice or something as well.
I just remember a goal being scored like that, and as the ball was going over his head, the Sampdoria goalkeeper, I'm forgetting who it was now, was applauded. It was
stunning. It's one of the most beautiful goals I've seen.
The only problem with Boksic was he didn't score enough goals, and that's why Juventus got rid of him. Because I think in that season, 96, 97, I remember he scored against Man United in the Champions League, and he was playing brilliantly. He played brilliantly, but he missed. He didn't score enough. Like I remember that 96, 97 Champions League final against Dortmund, which Juventus completely battered Dortmund. They outplayed them from start to finish in that game, but conceded goals off corners and set pieces. And I think Juventus hit the post twice. They had so many chances.
And then Lars Ricken scores one of the most beautiful goals.
Well, I disagree. Goalkeeping mistake. But beautiful goal, but a massive goalkeeping mistake. He I think, and that's why they decided to get rid of him. But I liked him.
As for Boni and Esposito, look, I think Sebastian Esposito is a decent Serie A player, but it's not more than that. It's like the Pinamonti school of strikers for me, Sebastiano Esposito. He's nowhere near as good as his younger brother, Francesco Pio. And I think that's pretty much what it is. I think this is his ceiling.
I think that's his worth. Whereas Boni, you're signing him for his potential. And also he showed that he has potentially a very high ceiling, Boni. Which is why you spend that amount of money. Exactly. He might not reach that ceiling because we never know 100%. No. But he has a potential ceiling, whereas Esposito doesn't have that potential ceiling.
100%. Andrea Moana says Ademola Lookman looks like he will be joining Inter. How good a signing is this? Where will he play? And can we all now agree that fears over Inter falling apart have been allayed? No, we can't, because he hasn't signed, and Inter aren't paying. As long as he isn't signed, he's not an Inter player, and so the whole discussion is kind of pointless. But what we can talk about is if he is signed, where he will play, and I think it's very, very clear that Inter, this has been a long time coming. It's got nothing to do with Inzaghi leaving and Chivu joining. It's been a long time coming, and already towards the end of last season, Inzaghi started moving to a 3-4-2-1, and I think that's very clear. This is where Inter have been headed, and that's why they continued. They completed the signings of Luis Enrique and Sucic and so on, because these are players that followed the plan, and Chivu playing 3-4-2-1 is again a continuation of what they wanted to do. So they haven't really upended their plans, tactically speaking. So Lookman coming in, it will be in the 3-4-2-1 with him playing in one of the two behind the striker, like he's played at Atalanta as well. That's kind of how I read the situation. Like where he will play formation-wise.
I think 3-4-2-1, and he can be one of the options behind the two. But then also, if you go 3-4-1-2, he can be one of the two up front. And I think he just adds more variety to Inter's play. And I also think there's been a conscious decision which is why I think Inter are having a good market to bring more pace and more players that can dribble and beat their man and stretch the play and give a counter-attacking threat, which is all the things that Inter have lacked for quite a long time and was a glaring weakness last season, that Inter just didn't have players with any pace, and they couldn't get up. They struggled to get up the pitch sometimes in games, even in Serie A sometimes, which was scary. So they've really focused on that this summer. So they brought Bonnie, who can do that. They brought they're trying to bring in Lookman, and they're trying to bring in more players that are good technically on the ball, like Sucic. Henrique, okay, he doesn't look the best, but he's that type of player. So you can see the strategy behind it. I think that's the thinking behind it tactically. And if to complete this signing, I think it's an incredible signing if we get the Lookman from Atalanta. That's always the concern whenever you sign an Atalanta player. Juventus have been burned, of course. Other teams have been burned abroad as well. We've seen so many players that you think, oh, this is an amazing signing. We said it about Koopmeiners. Who could have possibly thought Koopmeiners would be as bad as that? And we've seen it with so many other players. So that's the concern with Lookman. For me, that's the only concern, is do we just suddenly get a Lookman who is just a shadow of his Atalanta self? And they're doing something at Atalanta that made him better than he was. Right.
We're so ending up in front of a judge at some point. Sooner or later, you're not going to be able to control yourself, and we're going to get sued. It's just that simple. We're going to end up.
We will if you say that. That's the only thing. That's the only concern. Otherwise, if they get the Lookman Atalanta, they're getting potentially one of the best players in the league. They're getting it's an incredible signing if they get that, and for the fee that they're talking about, 40 million. I mean, that's daylight robbery. If they get the Lookman of Atalanta, it's daylight robbery. 40 million for
they're not going to get him for 40 million because Atalanta don't.
Even if it's 50 million, it's an incredible deal. It's an incredible deal, even for 50 or 45 plus 5, which is what Pedula is saying, which I find astonishing. That's what I think of it. And coming to the point about the market, which I mentioned earlier in the show.
Well, no, wait. We got a question on that. Wait. We got a question. The following question is literally about that.
Okay,
so I'll read that, and then you can answer that. So Ahmed Khaled says, "Hey, both. Hope you're both enjoying the summer. If Inter manage to get Lookman and also Leoni and let go of Aslani and Esposito as rumored, what will be the expectation next season, and what rating will you give Inter for the Mercato? I see that Kiva wants to implement a 3-4-2-1 direct and counter pressing with a bit of high line, Thuram and Lookman behind Lauti, and utilize pockets of space, which is really needed after playing 3-5-2 for 6 years now by recycling the ball all the way to the keeper and so on. I hate when we played like that, especially in the Champions League. And lastly, I know it's a gamble to try Kiva, but I wouldn't be pessimistic yet because this is how Guardiola came up and Xabi Alonso. Nobody knew them as coaches before they were selected as head coaches for Barcelona and Leverkusen, respectively. What if Kivu turns out to be a masterpiece? He isn't a masketeer yet, Nima. Thanks as always for your great comprehensive work. Well, if my grandmother had testicles, she'd be my grandfather. And as for Guardiola and Xabi Alonso was at Real Madrid under 14, then he was at Real Sociedad B in the third tier, and then he was given to Bayer Leverkusen before he had a fantastic breakthrough. But and then you have the same thing. Guardiola, he was in Barcelona's youth team setup. He was in the Secunda with Barcelona B.
I would say Guardiola is the same as Kiwi, but Alonso, I agree with you. Guardiola was just, there was no difference or what.
There was no, but I mean, Kivo has more experience than him. But the point is that when you do this, you take a risk. That's the point. And when you do take a risk, you have to remember that who was his staff at Barcelona. He had a very experienced staff. Kivo doesn't have an experienced staff. He's got Palombo and Kolarov. There is no experience here, and that is what the problem is. There is no experience here in this backroom staff. And it's a huge risk, which is a risk that Inter should never have found them in. That is the point I've been making. Max Allegri was there for the taking, and Inter deliberately chose not to go with him. That to me is a risk. That's
the great. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on this. This is where the great unknown is for Inter going into the new season. It's with the coach. There's no doubt about that. That's the great unknown. What I disagree completely with is this whole doom and gloom with regards to, Inter are in austerity when they've been the biggest spenders in Serie A, and this is downgrading Inter and turning them into, they're the biggest spenders in Serie A. Okay, we can look at how they spent the money, which we can look at after. We can't say that now.
No.
But in terms of the spending, that speaks for itself. And if they get Lookman, I mean, wow! I mean, that's over 100 million in spending, and it's an incredible.
Well, it depends
signing.
also on who they sell. I mean, let's remember again: is Thuram going to stay? What's going to happen with Calhanoglu?
Well, Auxilio obviously should never take public statements that are made.
I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth.
I'm just saying, just to give context, Auxilio did say, didn't he, last week, that Thuram is not for sale. So
yeah, but he also, I don't believe a word that Piero Auxilio says at Inter. His job is literally to go out in the media and lie. We've seen this time and time and time again. He comes out and says things that we know demonstrably are untrue. Because that's his job. He's the guy who is narrative control. That's his job at Inter. That's why they've got him. His communication is to go out and, when it comes to these things, to protect Inter and just flat out lie if needs to be without flinching. That's his job. We've seen this time and time and time again, and that's fine. That's the communication strategy Inter have. That's great. I get that. Everyone has their communication strategy. As for whether or not the Mercato, look, again, neither Leoni nor Lookman have been signed. Aslani's turning down offers. Esposito has not left. Inter haven't sold anyone. And there is still the issue of Calhanoglu to be resolved. There's still the Lookman has not signed yet. Leoni hasn't signed. We don't know what's going to happen with Acerbi. We don't know what's going to happen with De Vrij. There's talk of Jan Sommer leaving. There's lots of question marks surrounding Inter's Mercato. And Luis Enrique is looking like another Dalbert so far. I mean, I am not impressed with what I've seen at all.
I'll tell you where I see the definite strong points and the weak. The weak point for Inter at the moment, as I see it, is probably the wing back areas. But again, we have to see what happens at the end of the market. Enrique's not looking good, and
Dumfries could leave.
And if Dumfries leaves, then that's where you could have potentially a weakness if he leaves. But at the moment, doesn't seem to be really any interest in him. But where Inter have strengthened massively, and I can't believe no one's even talking about this. Inter, if they get Lookman, Inter will go from Lautaro, Thuram, Correa, Taremi, Arnautovic to Lautaro, Thuram, Lookman, Pio Esposito, Bonni. That is a massive upgrade, and that is an incredible attack line. It's the best attack in Serie A, no doubt.
Without a doubt.
So I mean, that is in itself amazing transfer window. Okay, Pio Esposito was already at the club, but they've done the right decision and kept him and not sold him, which is something some stupidly run guys. It's the kind of thing Juventus would have done. Juventus probably would have sold Pio Esposito. They would have got into a negotiation over Lookman, and they probably would have said, we'll let you have him because we want to have Lookman. They'd do the classic one step forward, one step back strategy. Inter have actually done that right, and they've said, look, we want Lookman, but you're not having Pio Esposito. So the attack, and that for me, that was one of Inter's two glaring weaknesses last season, was their attack, the lack of depth, and the midfield's the other thing. And that's the area where, again, we'll see with Sucic. I mean, I know you really, really like him.
I really like him.
So, I mean, if Sucic proves to be as good as what you're saying, then again, that's an upgrade in an area where you needed an upgrade in. So
look,
it seems that
Kivu wants to reintegrate Fratesi into this double pivot situation. And that he also wants to use Barella Sucic, which means that Mkhitaryan's going to be used a little bit less, which I think is the right move, because I think he's basically saying he's going to hang up his boots. Whether or not Calhanoglu stays as well, I think they've got too many midfielders, and I think that's why they're so desperate to get rid of Aslani. But Sucic and Barella in a double pivot with a Lookman, Thuram behind Lautaro, if this is the attack, you got Di Marco, Dumfries, that's an unbelievable upgrade in terms of the playing squad. But we're not there yet, so I want to wait before we say anything, because I'm not entirely convinced that this is how it's going to end.
The thing is with Thuram is I don't see who comes in for him. Like, I wouldn't sign Thuram after what I've seen this calendar year. That doesn't mean I don't expect him. I mean, I expect him to get back to his levels, but like, I don't see who is out there that still needs an attacker that would pay for him. There isn't anyone. The only one is maybe Man United. I don't know whether Thuram would want to go to Man United. I don't see any other big clubs that would pay the money that Inter are asking for Thuram. There's no spaces remaining for him, and so I think that Thuram stays, because I don't see, unless he's happy to go to kind of like because like every Premier League club could probably afford Thuram, but unless he's happy to go to like a Premier League team like Nottingham Forest or someone like that.
I don't think he is. My money has always been about PSG on him. I think he's the kind of player who would work in Luis Enrique's PSG. And now that they are champions as well, and he's French, and we know that this new PSG likes to buy French players who play for the national team, and they've got the financial power to do that. I think PSG, when I think of them, and they have yet to do anything this summer, like something really serious. They are the champions of Europe. They got lots of money. They're actually, so I'm waiting for them to do something this summer. But yeah, no, I agree with you. For the Premier League, I don't see, my money's on PSG. And you also have to remember, given that he came on a free transfer, everything he sold for is a plusvalenza. So Inter don't need to sell him for 85 million euros. They can sell him for 60, and that still would be a huge thing on their balance sheet. Same with Calhanoglu. That's why they want 30-40 million, because they look at the balance sheet and they're like, well, he came on a free transfer. Like it helps them financially a lot. Yeah. So
I think he's 28 as well, so it wouldn't be. Yeah, the next year they should probably start thinking about. But
if they have to stop, because if they don't, they need to extend his contract, because his contract expires. Like, I mean, that's another thing. If Marotta can't afford to fluff this up too, like he can't lose Thuram, or you lose all the leverage there. Like he needs to sort this out. It's really that simple. Right. Next question comes in from Yihuan Zhang, who says, "Hi Carlo, Nima. Now that Francisco Conceição is confirmed to stay at Juve, I want to ask if he reminds you of Douglas Costa in any way. If so, would love to hear your thoughts on how these two compare to one another, and whether Chico Conceição is likely to have a more successful career than Douglas Costa. Also regarding Vlahovic, what would you do if you were Juve's front office to get the best out of this terrible situation? To me, you have to choose, but to tell Dusan, I'm prepared to put you out of the squad for the whole season while paying you. Good luck with the World Cup and your next contract. But I don't know why Juve hasn't already done that. Thank you both in advance."
Well, Vlahovic's situation is a disaster. It's a completely disaster, and it's something I predicted since the start of the year, that I think they were going to find it almost impossible to find someone that was going to pay that kind of salary. They're even reduced their asking price for his transfer fee down to 20 million now, 20 million euros. It's as low as that now. So this is how desperate they are to get rid of him, and it's another Chiesa situation. I said this last year. I said it probably about this time last year. I said they're going to have another Federico Chiesa situation with Vlahovic, and that's exactly what they are. And he's complicating their market as well. And he's messing everything up, and it's a disaster. I also have to question his ambitions as a footballer, that he's actually happy to just sit on the bench for a whole season, but and miss the World Cup.
He's not going to miss the World Cup.
He will if he doesn't play.
He will be in the Serbia squad.
Not if he doesn't play, he won't.
He will be in the Serbia squad.
If he doesn't play, he won't. You're not going to pick him. Unless he plays 0 minutes all season, he's not going to go to the
unless he's injured, he's going to be in the Serbian squad if they make the World Cup. So
not if he doesn't play. Not if he plays 0 minutes though. If Juventus sit him on the stands and don't even put him in the squad list, he's not going to go. Serbia don't.
Who have they got? Who have they got instead? Are they going to play him?
Who plays above him, plays ahead of him. So they've already got one. They've already got a starting striker. And they've got other. I'm sure they could find Jovic. They've got Jovic as well. They've got other players who I'd probably have those two over him anyway, even if he was playing. To be honest with you,
but we'll see. I mean, there's already talk and murmurs of Marotta wanting to poach him on a free transfer.
You could have him, mate.
So we'll see. I hope not, because.
Well, there you go. That's that says it all. You don't want him. Who wants him?
No, I mean, I don't know. It's not.
No one wants him.
I don't know. I'm not sure. For me, it's like, how damaged has he become at Juve? Do you know what I mean? Like how badly
Giovanni
damaged is it?
Galliani said over the weekend, the mentor of Allegri, he said he's paid 1 million euros a month and he can't even control a ball. There's nothing inaccurate in what Galliani said there. You know? I think I've said he fights with his own body to just to control the ball.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I honestly don't know what Juventus do. Sometimes you have to set an example to the rest of the players in the squad, but Vlahovic has clearly shown and made it clear that he wants that his first care is about money. He's shown that. He knows he's not going to get that money anywhere else, so he's happy to sit on the bench for an entire season to ensure he gets that money, because he's never going to get a contract anywhere close to that ever again. He's not even going to get a contract of half of that. I don't think any club would even offer him 6 million euros a year right now. 4 million euros a year. I think he's looking at next contract. Vlahovic is looking at probably 3 or 4 million euros a year. And that will be someone that's stupid enough to think that they can rehabilitate him. So his next contract, he's probably going to get a third of what he's getting this season. So he's basically knows, right, this is a 3-year contract for me right now. So I'm going to just stay. Yeah. And I'm going to maximize my potential.
What do you make of the Douglas Costa, Francisco Conceição?
I mean, different types of players, but they're both could beat their man for fun, which is, I guess, is where the comparison is. But Douglas Luiz, I think, was a bit quicker. I mean, Douglas Luiz
Costa, not Luiz.
Douglas Costa. Yeah, sorry, Douglas Costa. Yeah, was rapid. The problem with Douglas Costa,
Douglas Costa.
Douglas Costa was a fantastic player. The problem with him at Juventus was he was signed during a time when Paratici, when they basically started messing up their squad, their team building. They bought Douglas Costa, and he was incompatible with Dybala, really, because Dybala needed to play in a wingerless system, and Douglas Costa needed to play in a winger system. So they couldn't, and also he had a lot of injuries as well. Yeah. And also, probably if there's one weakness in his game, he didn't score his final product, but he didn't score enough goals. He needed to score more goals. But there's no doubt, like the raw qualities that he had, and on his day, fantastic, and always great in Europe when you're playing away from home and you need that counter-attacking ability.
Yeah. Agreed. Akbar Palavan says, how does Club X decide to sign a player? For example, how did Milan come to the conclusion to sign Emerson Royal? If the Moneyball approach is real, then why did they choose to sign a player who was poor both statistically and based on the eye test? And 2, what do we know about Parma's new Carlos Cuesta, the manager born in 1995? I heard he was part of Arteta's backroom staff, focusing on the attacking side of things. And can they stay up in the Serie A next season? And one last important question: English, Spanish, or German food? What do you make of? Let's start with that. With that, what's his name?
Honestly, I have to be honest with you. I don't know too much about him other than he's part of this Arteta's team. Honestly, I'm sorry, I don't. It's a surprise. I know he's very, very highly rated. I know Arteta thinks very, very highly of him. He's part of this new generation, of course, of those that kind of marry together the kind of the stats side of things with all the his values. So yeah, I mean,
I don't know anything about him either.
I can't tell you much. It's a gamble. Again, it's a gamble.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble. Yeah.
What about the Emerson Royal thing? Like, how do they come to the conclusion? I think that's something I would like to ask.
Yeah, that's a question you want to ask.
I want to ask, like, what was the thinking? Maybe not who was behind it, because they don't want to say that, but what was the thinking?
Who was his agent? That's what I would ask first. Who's Emerson Royal's agent? Because that smacks of me of a deal that there's some kind of influence there from agents, because anybody that watched Emerson Royal at Tottenham, and I watched plenty enough of him, would tell you that he was a total shambles, total
disaster there. It was horrible.
Yeah.
English, Spanish, or German food?
Definitely not German. There's not even part of the debate. I don't know. I mean, I do like some English food.
I like English pub food. Yeah,
Spanish food as well. So
yeah, English.
I know you hate Spanish food, but
no, I think they've got amazing produce. Like, their products that are unbelievable. Like, Rioja wine is fantastic. I love the Albarino wine. I love.
We're talking about food, not drink. Yeah.
well, drink is food.
Well,
And pata negra ham and stuff like they actually do have like nice produce, but I just think the dishes are horrible. And as for English food, I mean, it depends on what. I mean, a good like traditional English pub food. Do you know what I mean? The different pies, like steak pies, and like they're nice if they're done well properly. Like, you know what I mean? Like the
I'm
gravies.
not a huge fan of either. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't hate them. I think they're
Yeah.
decent. There's some good stuff and there's some bad stuff. So I'd probably give it a. But then I think I know what you mean. Like if you had to live in Spain every single day and you'd only
Yeah.
eat Spanish food every day, like what are your staple foods, staple meals that
Exactly.
you would have every day? That's where I think Spain is
Exactly.
let down. Whereas England, I think, is a little bit stronger there. Like they have some. You could probably live every single day eating English food, and okay, it might not be amazing, but
No.
you know that it was. Whereas with Spain, you'd start struggling, wouldn't you? And after a while, I think. So
Exactly.
maybe I'll just go English.
Yeah. As for German food, I don't know. Like you have to.
Horrendous.
No, you have not had it proper. Like seriously, there's really nice German food out there, like proper dishes. Like it's just a lot of it is pork. If you don't like pork, then and it's not just sausages, like different schnitzels and different, you know, lots of potatoes. If you don't like potatoes, and German potatoes are nice. So no, I actually think German food is nice. It's just but you don't like cabbage, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, you know.
Yeah,
I'd only eat it to get some goodness.
I love sauerkraut. I think sauerkraut is wonderful. But it's not. You're not supposed to have it on your own. You're supposed to have it like with kassler and, you know, or with some sort of pork and some potatoes. You're not supposed to have it on your own. It's not nice if it's on its own, but together with everything else, it's actually pretty nice. It's all right. Next question. Federico Mibelli says, hi. What's going on with the Milan transfer market? I listened to the Milan Mercato episode, which was great, but is there any additional insight as to why it seems like signings are taking so long? I know Tare was appointed later than he should have been set up to succeed, but it still feels slow. Fans were told the same mistakes wouldn't happen again, but it feels like the same old story. Any indication Allegri is frustrated by this? And what do you feel Milan need or are missing in order to be a title contender? On a completely different topic, do you think there's value in getting Italian citizenship and passports? Currently a US citizen, but feel like things are getting messy here and curious what you think the benefits would be. Last question. My family is originally from Elba. Who do most people from there support? I love your podcast. You do a great job and the chemistry is hilarious and amazing. Well, thank you so much for that, Federico. I really appreciate it. I mean, the good thing if you can get Italian citizenship and passport is that you get an EU passport, which makes travel in Europe much more easier for you. So I suppose that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
So I, get it. It doesn't harm you. It won't harm you. So it makes travel easier in Europe, if that's what you want to do.
Agree on that. Yeah.
As
for are things better though in Italy than they are in America? I mean, listen, things are bad everywhere now. I'm going to be like all this. I see people even in England. Things are so bad here in England. I'm going to leave, and I'm like, okay, yeah, things are really bad here, but they're bad everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like when things are bad, be with your loved ones, be with your close to your loved ones, close to your family, and that they'll help you get through it and try and get through it that way with the people you love. So Elba
is in Tuscany, right? So if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? Let me just quickly look that up.
Isn't there an island, Elba?
Yeah, it's an island.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's near the Tuscan Archipelago National Park. Yeah, it's just outside of Tuscany.
Yeah.
So I suppose if people
isn't that where Napoleon? No, not Napoleon. No, Napoleon was St. Helena, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Someone got banished to Elba. I remember studying this, but yeah. Anyway,
someone got banished there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Elba is like it's just outside of Tuscany, so I assume that they would support a team like Fiorentina or Livorno or something like that. I just assume.
It was Napoleon. He was exiled to Elba. I knew it.
Was he?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, he was exiled to Elba following his first abdication after the Battle of Leipzig and the Treaty of Fontainebleau. That's on AI though, so don't trust AI. But yeah, he was. I remember because I knew that someone important had been exiled there, and it was Napoleon.
Yeah, Napoleon Island they call it.
Yeah.
According to AI, Napoleon dealt with stray dogs, public hygiene, and the construction.
AI is so bad. It is still so bad. Honestly, if you ever want to look up like history on AI, like you get some hilarious mistakes on AI. I've noticed that doing football research because you get some awful
shit.
Yeah,
stray dogs apparently. But there is they do. They I suppose they I mean they have their own football team. They're a member of CONIFA, Confederation of Independent Football Associations. They're not so they can't compete in the World Cup, but they can play in the CONIFA European Football Cup. So it's an interesting one. I had no idea. But yeah, I suppose, I mean, I'd assume that unless you've got that kind of local patriotism, that I assume they support teams in Tuscany, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But with Milan, I agree. I don't really like what I'm seeing from Milan's market at the moment.
Well, they don't?
I have to be honest. I don't. Yeah, but I just don't like the strategy. I guess is one thing. It's still time, but the strategy. I don't like the strategy. Like they really did. They rushed in to get rid of all their fullbacks, for example. So they got rid of all their right fullbacks. They rushed to sell Teo Hernandez, and so they've got no fullbacks now other than Terracciano. Like, what is Terracciano? I'm not actually even sure exactly what his specialist position is, and that's all they've got. So they need to go out and sign a right back and a left back, but then they also need some depth as well. They'll need some backup. So they really need to go out and sign what? 3 fullbacks, maybe, would we say?
Yeah,
probably 3. I mean, that's a lot of work to do. That's a lot of money you're going to have to spend to get those 3 fullbacks. So they're going to have to spend a lot of their budget on fullbacks, which is, I don't think. And when I see that they sold, how much did they sell Teo Hernandez for? It was like 25 million euros, right? So they sold a 27-year-old Teo Hernandez for 25 million euros. I know his salary would be higher, but then they go out and sign Pervis. Looks like they're gonna sign Pervis Estupinan, who I think Brighton are asking for like around 20 million. They'll probably end up closing that for a little bit less than that. But they're asking, so what? You sell Teo for 25, you sign Estupinan for just under 20. Estupinan's a player that I liked under De Zerbi, like 2-3 years ago. I liked him a lot. That might have been partly the De Zerbi tax, because De Zerbi does generally make players better than they are. But in the last year or two, he's gone down a lot. He doesn't even get into the Brighton. He's a Brighton reserve now. So what? You're selling Teo Hernandez, okay, after a bad season for 25, and you're signing a Brighton reserve for under 20. Like, it doesn't smack to me. It doesn't strike me of a transfer strategy of you're really got it mapped out, and you're just buying someone who kind of know what you're. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't really like what I'm seeing.
I also think it's a strange that, I don't know, him Allegri being forced to play Pobega as a left back is weird. Like, they shouldn't be in this position. It's not good. But again, it's only, it's July.
I mean, this Yashari, I haven't seen enough of him, but he's supposed to be an incredible talent. So, I mean, if they get him,
a good player, so they've done well to get Ricci. So.
Yeah, I mean, Ricci, Modric, and if they get this Yashari and he's good, and they've still got Fofana. I mean, yeah, they've still got. Listen, we forget also that they still got a lot of real strong players that weren't maximised in the last season. So you can get the best out of Rafael Leao and Pulisic for one. That's a hell of a lot of goals and assists in those 2 players alone. If you can just maximise those 2 and no one else, you're guaranteed a lot of goals and assists already. 100%. So it's not like there isn't quality there, but there are gaps. And I just not sure. I don't like really what I'm seeing with the strategy. And once you get to a certain point in the market, you run out of players available, you run out of time. Negotiating becomes really difficult, because if you try and sign a player, clubs have to replace that player, and they don't have time and options to replace that player, which is why you really need to do your work early in order to, do you know what I mean? So that's
100%.
I don't really like what I'm seeing with Milan, but let's see if they can turn it around.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I'd like to see if they could get Parisi. I would like if he went there. I mean, if you're going to take a gamble, I'd rather they take it on Parisi, who actually is.
I agree. See, this is my issue. I'd rather you, and this is the problem that I had with the signings like Emerson Royale, and it's the problems that I have with any Italian clubs that sign kind of like backups from English clubs or backups from other clubs, is you kind of know what you're going to get from a backup or reserve from a Premier League club, and you know they're going to be probably not good enough, or they're going to be good and nothing more. Okay, you get the odd one that ends up shining, like a McTominay, for example, but generally you know what you're going to get with Estupiñán. You're going to get someone who he might be good, but you're not building anything sustainable, or you're not building towards something with him. I'd rather you take a gamble on someone who's up and coming, who can become the next big thing, like a Reinders, for example, who went on to become, and that's the way you use your expertise. And so that's the issue. I guess that's part of the issue that I have with these kind of signings, like Estupiñán.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a fair point. Next question. Jack Hacken says, hi, Neiman Carlo. How much leverage and ability to pressure other clubs during the mercato of Italian clubs lost in these last 15 years? Juve, Inter, Milan seem to only come up with their full retinue of signings on the 1st of September instead of during the preseason in July. And as for hair transplants, Nima, I hear they do an excellent job in Poland for not that much money and a lot better than in Turkey. I'm not doing it in Turkey or Poland. I'm doing it here in Sweden. I know people here who have run clinics. I'm going to do it there when I do it. So thanks.
Have you booked it yet? Or?
No, yeah. Well, I've been to one thing, so they've explained to me how it works and whatnot. So yeah, I'm doing it next.
I'm still waiting for mine to grow. I'm 3 months post surgery.
Yeah, but it takes 6 months. You have to be patient.
Yeah,
it takes 6 months, doesn't it? And there are people who have done it. So it looks amazing after 6 months. Is that why you're wearing that cap?
No, I'm wearing the cap purely because I was really busy this morning. I didn't have a chance to wash my hair. My hair gets really greasy. I'm a typical greasy Italian. You know, I have really greasy skin, and so my scalp and everything just gets really greasy. So I didn't. I was rushing around, and I literally came straight from a meeting straight into this pod, and so I just stuck a cap on.
As for the leverage, is because of the financial situation. It's that simple. When you have weak finances, you have weaker leverage. It's really that simple. But I also think that some of it is also down to poor planning and mismanagement, as we've discussed already. That you want to get your business done early, but a lot of them don't seem to want to do that. So
yeah, we've got done to death the reasons for why things have happened, but the status quo is this. So this morning, I was doing some research for an article that I'm writing on football transfers, which I'm going to do tomorrow on Tuesday. And it's on the Premier League basically being the Super League, which it is. So the Premier League's net spend so far this summer on the transfer market is over 800 million euros. The net spend, so minus 800 million. So they're 800 million in the red, let's say, in terms of net transfer spending. The net spend of La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and Ligue 1, so that the other 4 major leagues in Europe's top 5 leagues, that the combined net spend is plus 62 million. So lovely. 62 million in the green compared to minus 800. Minus over 800 is like 800, over 800 million anyway. Minus, so that tells you everything. Where all of the Europe's league sides, not just Serie A.
But
I'm writing an article on this for Tuesday, by the way. So don't tweet anything out on that yet, and or anybody that's listening. Like I'm writing an article, and I'm going to be pretty strong. Let's say that.
Cool. Yeah, but football was saved. Let's remember, Gary Neville saved.
Those words have been used already.
I'm sure they have been. Football was saved by Gary Neville and Carver Solhekol. Right, next question. Yousef says, "Hi, Neiman Carlo. Quick, oh God, I can't stand what an annoying twat he is with that Cockney accent as well when he's sitting."
He is Nima's trigger.
I really
Allegri's my
trigger. I just can't. Yeah. Everything about him just screams fraud and phony. Anyway, next question. Yousef says, "Hi, Neiman Carlo. Quick one for you. Can someone explain why Inter didn't move for Samuel Ricci? He went to Milan for about 25 million, and with Hakan potentially leaving, Mkhitaryan aging, and Fratesi and Aslani both linked with moves, who's actually left the midfield. Ricci felt like the obvious affordable choice to rebuild the core. Personally, I'd have taken him over Boni. Inter spent similar money on a striker who didn't urgently need, especially with Pio Esposito already looking like a serious talent up front. Is there a logic here I'm missing, or is Kivu cooking up something wild? Maybe Zalewski playing inside as a midfield joker? Would love to hear your thoughts. No, the issue is this. Inter are playing, or have decided a long time ago, to move to a 3-4-2-1. Like I said, even if Inzaghi had stayed, that's what they would have done. That's why they signed Luis Enrique and Petar Sucic. So, and that's why they want to get rid of one midfielder. Fratesi is going to stay. They want to get rid of Aslani. Mkhitaryan is going to have a much more diminished role. Calhanoglu will have to wait and see. And I think there just wasn't for Inter in that system, playing both as one of the two in behind the one and also as a wing back. So they needed Boni, and they didn't need a central midfielder. So that's just kind of how it worked out, really. But whether or not that was the right decision or not, we'll see. Personally, I'm very, very impressed by Sucic, and I think he looks absolutely fantastic. Right, next question. Mark Thoreau says, "Hi guys, thanks a lot for the brilliant content. Really keeps me going, and my knowledge of football has expanded tremendously thanks to this pod subscription." Well, thank you very much, Mark. Question: when do you expect the Intertransfer podcast to be scheduled? Might be a tough one to answer given how volatile the market is. Second question is related to the midfield. Given we're moving to a 3-4-2-1, then I ask myself about the starters in this context. Now we have Chala, Barella, Miki, Zelinski, Fratesi, Sucic, Aslani. Under that new system, you only really start two. My question here is twofold. If Inter is serious about this switch, even acknowledge that there will be from time to time the good old 3-5-2, there's at least two, if not three, too many midfielders. How do you reckon Inter will line up under this 3-4-2-1 formation midfield-wise? And crucially, what happens to Barella under this scenario? Would he really play under this formation, and with who? I get the distinct feeling that Miki and Aslani are both goners, and this is why. Finally, Lookman, obviously happy with him being considered, but then why not invest 30-35 in Nico Paz instead? Greater resale value. No, enjoy the summer, and thanks again for the pod. I always look forward to the little notification. Nico Paz is under Real Madrid's control, so unless you can find a way to get them to relinquish that control, that's why that's not happened. Mkhitaryan is on his last contract, on his last year. He's going to leave. He's probably going to retire. He's spoken openly about that. I still think that they're looking to sell more than Aslani. I think it's going to be Calhanoglu that they're going to try to get rid of. Because if you've got Zelinski, you've got Mkhitaryan, you've got Barella, you've got Fratesi, and you've got Sucic. That's 5 players for 2 positions. And you can also play a 3-5-2. You need so I think they're kind of covered in midfield. I think that's how they see it. But Barella's going to play in a double pivot with Sucic. That's his role, pretty much. So I don't think they're missing players in the midfield at all. I think the move to the 3-4-2-1 kind of makes it almost they have too many midfielders. Yeah. So that's how I see it. What do you think?
I think you might be right. I think if you go to a 3-4-2-1, you just change Barella's position. You basically say, right, you're going to take Calhanoglu's role within obviously this new system, but you're going to be the replacement for Calhanoglu rather than go out and sign. But then if you sell Calhanoglu and you get decent money, maybe, if an opportunity comes up, maybe you take it. I think also depends on how much faith they have in Sucic, how good he can be straight away. I know you think he's going to be a great player. Is he ready straight away? So if they think he's ready already, then there's absolutely no reason to go out and sign a more established player. So I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Next question. Roman D'Alessandro says, "Hi guys, a couple of questions for the pod. Growing up, I was always a bit of a football boot nerd. For me, my favorite silo was the Mercurial Vapors of 2008-2014. This time, I think Nike did a great job of giving leathery upper feel with modern performance materials. I actually think that Vapors are better than the same period premium model Superfly. I'm curious to know what your favorite boots were when you guys were playing regularly. Was there a player boot combo that resonated with you the most? For me, oddly, I always think of Fernando Torres and his T90 lasers. Lastly, has Osimhen become the Icardi of this decade? The career trajectories are fascinatingly parallel to the point they've both ended up at Galatasaray. Who was the better Serie A striker at their peaks? Thanks for all the content this summer. I hope you both enjoy it." Well, Baggio's Diadora boots are the best ever football boots to be made. I mean, I'm sorry.
They were mine as a kid. I wore them. I had them. They were my first boots when I started playing like 11-a-side football. I straight away I demanded that my parents buy me them, and I wore them. Yeah, I love them. Beautiful, like yellow Diodoras, black with a yellow.
Stunning.
Absolutely stunning, gorgeous, iconic boots.
Yeah.
I think it's up there. I mean, I think that probably the most famous legendary boots ever are the classic Puma Kings, ones that kind of go back to. Did Pele wear them? No, I'm not sure if it was Pele. Like they go back sort of like back to the kind of like the 70s, you know, the Puma Kings or 80s. They're classics, and they're simple but look fantastic. So Puma Kings, I had some of them for a while. They were great. The other ones I had, but these were Kappa. I had some white Kappa boots back in a time when hardly anyone used to wear coloured boots, and like you could only wear coloured boots if you could pull it off. Now everybody, like even the shit players have coloured. In fact, pretty much everyone wears coloured boots now. Like it's rare to see someone wear black boots today on the football pitch, isn't it? It's like everyone's got different coloured boots now.
The 1996 Marco Simone white, was it Nike he had?
I remember them, yeah.
They were stunning.
I remember them, yeah.
I think they were Nike. Can't remember, but those were.
I remember them. I'm not sure the make, but I remember they were great boots.
Yeah. Sorry, just to answer Mark's question, the Intermercato deep dive we're trying to do over the next couple of weeks. We haven't got a date exactly, but yeah, we have to be flexible given that we're working with people who were really busy, and if they move and you know, we have to be very flexible. So we're trying to get that sorted as soon as possible.
The other great ones were Nike Tiempos. They were very, very popular during the 90s. It used to be for a long time. There used to be a kind of battle between which were better out of the Nike Tiempos and the Puma Kings. The Nike Tiempo had a lot of new marketing going along for them, and you had those famous adverts. Do you remember like the famous adverts where I think it was Cantona, but you had all the players kicking it to each other. Do you remember that?
It's such a good ad. Such a good ad.
So Maldini would kick it from one continent over to the other. Do you remember that?
I remember. As for Osimhen Icardi, I think as a player, Osimhen is levels better than Icardi. But as a finisher, Icardi is one of the best finishers in the game. As for their trajectories, well, Osimhen doesn't have a Wanda Nara, but it feels that Osimhen doesn't need a Wanda Nara. He's very good at screwing up his own career. He doesn't need a Wanda. He's his own Wanda. But yeah, I'm disappointed with Victor Osimhen. I really thought that he was going to be one of the biggest players in all of football. I thought if he'd controlled himself a little bit more, I think he would have gone to a Premier League. I think he would have been £100 million player in the Premier League, and he would have been a fantastic player. I think it's a shame that
complete waste. It's a complete waste.
Yeah, agreed. Missak O says, seeing now that the Azzurre are how well the Azzurre are faring in the Euros, and how proud every Italian should be of them, who would be on your Calcio Femminile Mount Rushmore, and should Cristiana Girelli be on it?
Well, this tournament, definitely Girelli. I mean, she's been the difference, isn't she? In the last game, I think I saw a stat that she's scored this season. She scored more goals with her head than any player in Europe's top 5 leagues in female football, that is. So yeah, I mean, England next on Tuesday. I mean, England are going to be massive favourites, obviously. But it's a great listen. Well done to the girls. Well done. All I can say is fantastic.
Yeah, they've overperformed.
They've overperformed, but they've shown the men, like, you know, who
they haven't shown the men shit. Stop. This needs to stop. No. This needs to stop. Can we please stop comparing women's and men's football?
No. I'm not comparing it. I'm saying they've shown Italian men. They have shown the Italian men. This is no comparison about, of course, we know men's football. Look, Switzerland's women lost 5-1 to an under-15 team a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, everybody knows. It's not even a debate. Like, there's no debate there that women's football is nothing compared to men's. And then it shouldn't have...
It's a different sport. Like,
it's a completely different sport. And the arguments about equal money and everything like that, that comes down to demand and what people will pay for and what people
I'm not even going into that.
I'm not debating anything about that. I'm saying they've shown the Italian men. They've performed well in their discipline. The Italian men have completely flopped recently. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is this: they're two different sports. We shouldn't compare them at all. It's just I hate when people do this. Either if they compare them to push for women's football, or if they compare them to shit on for women's football. Stop doing that. They're completely different sports. Let the women have their own game. Let the men have their own game. We don't need to make these comparisons. There's no need for it. It's just stupid. It's a dumb discussion, and it drives me insane because I find it so frustrating because, for example, I'll give you an example. I don't care about women's football. That's not a political statement. That's just, I don't care about women's football. For the same reason, I don't care about boxing, regardless if it's men or women boxing, or MMA, or basketball, regardless of the gender. It's not for me. I don't care. But I do find this thing where we have to compare everything and no, stop doing that. It's two different things. I'm happy that the girls are doing well. The Italian girls are doing well. Nobody expected them to reach the semifinals. Fantastic achievement. But we need to stop the comparisons. It's stupid. It's
I don't
dumb.
think anyone is really comparing.
They are.
We're not.
You see it all the time. Whether they're trying to shit on women's football or they're trying to push women's football. I just think this discussion is so dumb.
The simple comparison here is that the Italian women are doing really well, and it's fantastic. And it gives us something for Italian football, international football to celebrate at a time when the men are completely flopping tournament after tournament right now. So that's the only comparison, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. They're actually well done to the women. They're actually doing something that the men are completely failing at. That's no comparison.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's all. I'm tired of listening to this debate. It's been going on for 20 years, and it's exhausting.
Listen, I've been in this industry for 20 years, and I've seen the difference. You're not going to argue with me because I've seen the hard facts. I've seen the interest in women's football. I've seen how many people read articles that we've done on women's football. And the demand is just not there compared to men's football to warrant any kind of debate about equality in terms of pay and all this kind of stuff, because that's set by the market. It's not set by ability or anything like that. It's set by the market. Alicia Lehman is the best paid female football for everything she does. She's a terrible footballer. She's nowhere close. Doesn't even get in the Switzerland team. So it's all set by what the demand and what you can generate. And so that's the bottom line on that argument.
No, I don't even enter it because I don't like. I think it's too complex, and I don't like to compare things that shouldn't be compared to one another. I think they're two different sports, and I think it's ridiculous to compare them. I just think it's just boring to listen to. Whether you're in favor of it, whether you're against it, I think it's a stupid discussion altogether. I think I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of it, and then people politicize it, and it just makes me want to vomit in the faces of everyone involved, like a projectile from left to right and right to left. Right, let's move on to the next question. CJ Barilla says, can Carlo pick the following? The 5 greatest Juventus goalkeepers of all time, 5 greatest Juventus defenders of all time, 5 greatest Juve midfielders of all time, 5 greatest Juve attackers of all time, and 5 greatest Juventus managers of all time. Okay, let's start positionally from goalkeeper to striker and then manager. Do you want to do that?
Okay, right. I'll start off 5 greatest Juventus goalkeepers of all time. So number 5, I'm going to go Angelo Peruzzi, obviously the hero of the 1996 Champions League victory. 4, I'm going to go a long way back, Gianpiero Combi, who was Juventus goalkeeper in their dominant team of the 1930s. 3rd place, I'm going to go for Stefano Tacconi, who was the successor of Dino Zoff. He was there in the 80s and early 90s, great commanding goalkeeper. 2nd, I'm going to go Dino Zoff, of course, legendary Juventus and Italy goalkeeper, won the World Cup for Italy at the age of 40, won everything, almost everything, didn't win the European Cup with Juventus. And then in 1st, of course, it is the GOAT himself, Gigi Buffon. And what else can you say about the guy? 19 years at Juve and the greatest goalkeeper of all time.
I have Zoff above Buffon, but that's
oh, really?
Barely, because I think the longevity and the age of winning the World Cup at 40, it's like the longevity. So for me, Zoff is just.
But I'm basing this on their performances for Juventus, not for. But then if you include
Zoff
Italy,
is part of like the greatest Juve ever, isn't he? I mean, you could argue that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Although he left.
Yeah, that's true.
He left just before they won the European Cup, but
Yes.
actually their team was probably better when he was there, I would say.
But I mean, we're talking minor, like we're talking very fine margins.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to say anything.
Sure.
Right, defenders.
Right, my 5 greatest Juventus defenders of all time. 5th place, Antonio Cabrini, legendary left back for Trapattoni's Juve team that won everything. 4th place, I've got to go for Claudio Gentile. You know, one of the hardest men ever to play the game. Just legendary man marker. Everybody remembers Maradona and Zico, who he man-marked in 82. Then 3rd place, I'm going Giorgio Chiellini, 18 years at Juve. He really kind of symbolises what it means to be a Juventino. I think 10 Scudetti, just a legendary defender. 2nd place, I'm going to go Ciro Ferrara. I think the most underrated defender in football in the 90s, full stop. I mean, part of that great Marcello Lippi team, won the 96 Champions League. Fantastic player. And 1st place, I'm going to have to go Gaetano Scirea. I mean, just one of the greatest defenders of all time. The Italian Franz Beckenbauer, just a wonderful libero, brought the ball out of defence, so classy. 14 years at Juve, he won every single trophy in the game for the club and won the World Cup. Wonderful player, and then sadly missed.
Scirea for sure, number 1. I don't think anyone can say anything about that. I have Gentile 2nd, Ferrara 3rd. I'd have Chiellini 5th. I think Chiellini. I'm surprised. You know, I was kind of thinking Barzagli as well, but then again, you know, when he came and so on, because I think Barzagli is very underrated. But he needs to be in the discussion. But I think
it's hard picking these players, though, isn't it? Like Barzagli, Bonucci, you know, Thuram, Montero. I mean,
Cannavaro. I mean, even though Cannavaro wasn't great,
he was only there for 2 years. But like when I've picked these players, I've tried to like combine a bit of everything. Like there's the longevity, there's the trophies they won, there's the era they played in.
Well, that's the thing.
You know,
I think the era they played in is why I can't put Chiellini that high up, because Cabrini, Gentile, they played in the era of Italian football when Italian football was just the best.
For sure. But then at the same time with Chiellini did still reach 2 Champions League finals and was an important part of, you know, great Juventus teams. Okay, they fell short, they didn't win the Champions League, but they were still playing, you know, under the beginning of Allegri's reign, they were still top 3, top 4 teams in Europe, you know, which you certainly can't say about anything in the last 6-7 years at Juve. Do you know what I mean? So it's, but I agree. I do agree with your point.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I mean, we're talking about some of the best defenders to ever play the game. Like there's not much between any of them. Right, the midfielders.
Okay, this is really hard. So my 5 greatest Juventus midfielders of all time. 5th place, I'm going to go Andrea Pirlo. Only 4 years at Juve, but what a 4 years at the end of his career. 4th place, I'm going to go Marco Tardelli, brilliant box-to-box midfielder of Trapattoni's great team that won everything domestically and in Europe and internationally. 3rd place, I'm going to go for Franco Calcio. Again, you know, very, very underrated wild midfielder. He was purely world-class throughout the 70s and just a fantastic player. 2nd place, I'm going to go Pavel Nedved. I mean, this guy was just a force of nature, wasn't he? I mean, 2000s.
I think he was very underrated at Juve. Like his era at Juve is underrated. I think he was for me, he was unbelievable when he was at Juve.
Amazing. I mean, he won the Ballon d'Or in 2003. I mean, I think he had one of the best shots on both feet that we've ever seen. Right? If you were to say to me, pick a player, which player was the best ever at long range shooting with both feet, the ability to shoot fantastically off both feet. Pavel Nedved is up there with a lot of players. You know, he was incredible. And but first place, there is only one.
There is only one.
There's only one, and that is Michel Platini. I mean, he won the Ballon d'Or 3 times in a row at Juventus, which says it all. I mean, he's a genius. for me, the best passer of a football there's ever been. And he was a prolific goal scorer. He was incredible at assists, at free kicks, at penalties. He was the perfect player. He was just a genius. And yes, I haven't included.
I don't
Zinedine
understand
Zidane.
this.
I haven't included Zinedine Zidane.
Why not?
He's up there. Well, who do you take out? That's the thing. I mean, thing is with Zidane is Zidane joined Juventus in 1996. Zidane was world class at Juve in 96, 97, and 97, 98. So for 2 seasons, he was a fantastic, incredible world class level for Juve. But in 98, 99, 99, 2000, and 2000, 2001, he played in some Juve teams which weren't particularly great. And he wasn't particularly great either. He was decent in those 3 seasons. He was good in those 3 seasons, but he was playing for quite a weak Juve, who didn't perform well in those years. Okay, they still went close to the Scudetto under Ancelotti, and they had, but it wasn't a great Juve team, and his numbers weren't that great. If you look at his numbers in terms of goals and assists in those seasons as well. So really, that's why. That's not to say he isn't a Juventus legend. He is. He is a Juventus legend, and he's an incredible, and he's close to being in my list. I'm just saying that, would I put him ahead of these other players? I mean, some would say Pirlo played in a weak era. Maybe Pirlo shouldn't be in it. Maybe that's me romanticizing a little bit. Maybe.
But I think that's the funny thing. I think Pirlo at Juve was ridiculous. Like, I think he was.
But playing in a weak Serie A, people would argue. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's where. Like, but who would you kick out for Zidane? Like, it's hard. Do you know what I mean? It's
very hard. It's very hard. If we're just going with peaks, maybe I'd probably.
Yeah, with peaks, you'd put Zidane in. If you're talking about peak, if you're talking about who is the 5 best midfielders who played for you, of course Zidane's in it. Of course he is. He's probably second on this list.
That's exactly it. I have Platini. I'd have Zidane.
But we're not doing that on that. We're doing it on their performances
overall.
for Juve. So that's why.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair enough. What about forwards? This is difficult.
How do you pick 5 Juventus forwards? I mean, how do you pick any 5 forwards at any Italian club? Do you know what I mean? There's been so many. Probably harder for Inter than it is for Juventus, to be honest. There's been some incredible, and Milan. I mean, it's impossible. So you're going to get people moaning, pissing and moaning at this, whatever I do. So bring it on. But yeah, my 5 greatest Juventus attackers of all time. 5th place, I'm going Roberto Baggio. He is my childhood idol. So he has to be in it. Only there for 5 years, and it wasn't a massively successful Juve, although they did still win a Scudetto and a UEFA Cup when a UEFA Cup was really hard to win. And he won the Ballon d'Or at Juventus in 1993 after leading them to the UEFA Cup with one of the greatest individual seasons I've ever seen. 4th place, I'm going for Omar Sivori, who was the Maradona of the late 50s and early 60s. He was just an incredible dribbler. Unbelievable player, Sivori. 3rd place, I'm going for John Charles, who was the gentle giant. He was Welsh striker,
massive.
He was a giant. He formed an incredible, unstoppable partnership with Sivori. Those two together were just.
And he played as a central defender towards the end of his career. When
he could play defense, central defense, and in attack.
Yeah.
He was amazing, and he was voted. John Charles was voted as, until the time of Maradona, the greatest ever foreign player to play in Serie A by Serie A fans. So that shows you kind of how good he was for those that obviously don't remember him or haven't seen him play. 2nd, I'm going to go for Roberto Bettega. I mean, he was in the 70s. This guy was just pure class. He was the complete striker. He had everything. Headers, his flicked goals especially, he was famous for. His link-up play, an amazing finisher. During the 70s and early 80s, I mean, unbelievable player. And he would have gone to the 1982 World Cup as Italy striker if he hadn't got injured. That's the only reason Paolo Rossi went, was because Bettega got injured and Bearzot put in Rossi instead. And he was grey. He went grey early as well. Famous kind of footballer from sort of like that went grey, like famous grey footballers. Maybe the greatest grey footballer ever, maybe. I think. Can't think of one better than him. And in first place, have to go for Alessandro Del Piero because, he's Juventus' all-time top scorer, 19 years, just an icon, beloved by the fans, won everything in the game as well at Juventus, won every honour domestically and in Europe, or the major European and international honours. And Champions League legend, somebody that always performed. I think if you're going into history and picking the 5 greatest Champions League players of all time, I think Del Piero is in it because he scored in Champions League finals, he scored in semi-finals, he was top scorer, he performed in the big games, he had so many iconic goals, iconic games. Champions, for Juventus, there's no doubt the guy was just unbelievable. So Del Piero, and what he means to the club as well has to be, Del Piero has to be number one. For me,
but I mean,
maybe not the best player on this list, but of these 5 attackers, like Baggio will always be above in terms of, if you include the national team and everything. But for Juventus, it's Del Piero.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's impossible to disagree with that. But then you've got Tevez, Vialli, Trezeguet, Inzaghi, Boniperti, Dybala. I mean,
it's hard, isn't it? I mean, how do you pick 5?
Carlos Tevez, I thought was his era there is very underrated. I thought it was unbelievable.
Again, if you're talking about peaks, Tevez was only there for 2 years, so you can't put him in a top 5 list. But if you're talking about the greatest peaks, then you've got another debate. So it's just shows kind of like the legends that have been playing. That you've got all these players that don't make the list.
Yeah. Managers.
Okay, this is.
I think this picks itself.
Sort of pick the top 5 pick themselves. The order you can debate, but 5th place I'm going to go. So my 5 greatest Juventus coaches ever. 5th place I'm going to go for Carlo Parola. He coached the great Juventus team of John Charles and Omar Sivori of the 50s, early 60s. He won 3 Scudetti. Then 4th place I'm going to go for Max Allegri in his first spell. 5 Scudetti in a row, 4 Coppa Italias he won.
2
that speaks for itself. Obviously, the second spell was a disaster, but the first spell was all conquering, dominant. So yes, it wasn't the strongest Serie A, but 2 Champions League finals as well, which is for an Italian team is very impressive in this era. 3rd place, Antonio Conte. He rebuilt Juventus team that's on its knees after Calciopoli. They were just an embarrassment. To 7th place, he takes them to the Scudetto, wins 3 in a row. He builds this new great Juventus that went on to dominate under Max Allegri. So it has to be Antonio Conte. 2nd place, Marcello Lippi. He had 2 really successful spells there. The first spell, of course, won everything in football, including the Champions League, the last time Juventus have won it, and maybe the last ever. 5 Scudetti in total, 3 Champions League finals in a row, underachieved really because they were the best team in the world and they should have won more than once. So Lippi in 2nd, and then in 1st place has to be Giovanni Trapattoni. He is Juventus's most successful coach of all time. 14
he literally won everything there was to win.
He did.
There was nothing left to win, Trapattoni. He won European Cup, Champions League, Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cup, Club World Cup, or the Intercontinental Cup, European Super Cup. He won everything in Italy. His 10 years at Juve is just insane.
And he had a second spell in which he still won. He still won more trophies. Didn't win the Scudetto, but he won the UEFA Cup in his second spell. Yeah. And again, I have to repeat, winning the UEFA Cup was actually harder than it was to win the Champions League.
Because of the participating teams, if you look at it.
Because you had the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th team in whereas you only had the top place team in the Champions League.
Trapattoni's Juve completed football. There was nothing left for them to do.
No, and the teams he created, like you said, the best Juventus team ever. That team with the World Cup, Italy's 1982 and 1978 World Cup defense. With Sciarra, Gentile, Cabrini, Zoff in goal. Then in the midfield you had Tardelli and you had Rossi or Bettega up front. Calcio before that as well. It was just an incredible team. You know, they won the UEFA Cup with Trapattoni with an all-Italian team, 11 Italian players. You know, can you imagine doing that nowadays? And you know, even again when he came back, I mean, they won the UEFA Cup with an amazing team. You know, with Baggio, Cola, Molla, Vialli, Ravanelli. You know, incredible players, but obviously in a Serie A era that was so strong with the great Milan and, you know, Inter and Sampdoria and Napoli, and you know that he didn't manage to win the Scudetto because it was so strong. So yeah, Trapattoni for sure.
Agreed. I don't have any. I mean, I think the top two pick themselves. To be honest, I don't
in that order.
Yeah, in that order. Trapattoni's Juve will never, like, it's, again, he completed football with the and to be there for such a long time as well. And no, his football, his Juve is just and then of course Lippi because of what he did. And then I think the rest is fair enough. I think what Conte did at Juve is truly remarkable. I think what Allegri did was unbelievable. No, I think I'd agree with most of that, to be honest. Perfectly honest with you. Right. Next question is from Magnus Kaufman. He says, young Italian centre-back Daniele Ghilardi is being heavily linked to Roma. Finally, a big Italian club is going for a young Italian. Hope he goes through and also gets playing time. I also really like that Luca Napoli deal. Great for the Italian national team. Hope you guys have a great summer. I really cannot stress this enough. I am thrilled that Lorenzo Luca has gone to Napoli, because I think Antonio Conte is the ideal manager to coach him. I think the characteristics he has, the football that Conte plays, and Napoli where they are, and given that where they're going to be and how the number of games, I'm very happy for Luca, and I'm happy for Italy that he's gone there. I'm very, very excited. So I expect to see something very interesting and important from Luca this season.
I agree on Luca, purely from a selfish point of view, that I want to see the Italy national team do well, and I'm hoping that he can develop him. I'm on the fence before this move on just how high a ceiling Luca's got. I'm not 100% sold, although I can see some unique qualities there based on his size and technique. Mm-hmm. that if they Conte can maximize that he's got something unique there. So I really hope Conte can do that. We've seen him do it with much lesser players.
Exactly.
Luca. So that's the hope I have. Other Serie A transfers this summer that I like the look of. I mean,
I want to wait before I see.
I mean, you're probably going to say Sucic. I know you're excited about that. So,
I'm very excited about it.
I think
Sucic is a fantastic signing. I think I'm really happy about that. I like Modric to Milan too, because I love Luka Modric. I'm just
let's put a golden oldies. Let's say Modric and De Bruyne having two absolute legends. I mean, they're old, but it's still great to see two legends playing Serie A.
It really is. And that they have a chapter in Italy is nice. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Right. Next question. Jamie Drum says, my question to you both is, what three transfers from Inter and Juve did you think? How did we get that much for them? Well, I know two of yours. One is Betancourt and the other one is Kulusevski, because you still can't believe you even got that much money for them. I think Pinamonti was one that I'm like.
Who was that from? Sassuolo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that classic dodgy Inter Sassuolo partnership.
Oh, stop. As opposed to every other team in Serie A bending over for you.
How much are they going to get for Buchanan? How much are they going to get for Buchanan this summer?
They're not going to get anything from Buchanan because Loriente was going to go to Sunderland.
Why did that collapse, that Loriente?
I read something about his agent wanting more, wanting to renegotiate or whatnot, and Sunderland getting fed up.
That would have been a good deal because I like Loriente, but 20 million for Loriente does sound like a really good sale as well, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know, because Juventus have sold really badly in recent years.
Inter as well, so I don't really know. Yeah, no.
I mean, there's the obvious one for Juventus.
Pinamonti for 20 million euros is.
Yeah, it's dodgy. Like Pjanic was dodgy. It's like it's inflated. But this happens a lot with transfers between clubs. Like the Pjanic Arthur one was dodgy as hell. Everybody knows that. Like there's no way.
But that was essentially legalized. That was just a way to fix the.
But a lot of teams do that. Even
they actually paid 20 million for.
Yeah.
That's not dodgy. That's just someone got taken for a ride. But badly. But the Pjanic stuff like that was just basically, or the Cancelo Danilo thing.
Yeah, because money went the other way. You kind of didn't get it. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not. It is what it is. But yeah, no. Pinamonti for me is just I don't
know. I can't think of any others.
So yeah, but you still think Kulusevski Bentancur?
Has to be, yeah. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money. Absolutely.
And then they spent it on Vlahovic.
Well, yeah, there you go. So they would have been better off keeping him. That's where I was wrong. See, I wasn't wrong about Juventus getting an incredible deal. I was absolutely right about that. Where I was wrong was I said they've gone to spend it on a striker that's going to be.
But he was the most exciting striker, young striker at the time. So
I know, but I was still wrong. It was a bad money spent. It was bad money badly spent. I was wrong. I will put my hands up and say I was wrong there. Yeah. I was wrong. The reason I thought it was an amazing deal because one, they got an incredible amount of money for two players who were never good enough for Juventus, so it was an incredible deal, and so they made great money. And then I thought, well, they're going to spend that money on a guaranteed striker who's going to be there for years and is going to score loads of goals and is just been the top scorer in Europe, second top scorer in Europe after Lewandowski or whoever it was. Wow, amazing on paper. But there you go.
I think selling Pogba to Man United for 105 million euros has got to be a stroke of genius, given that he never really worked out at Man United.
But at the time, nobody thought, how the hell did they get that money? At the time, it was right. This is the best midfielder in the world, or the future best player in the world, and they've broken the world transfer record for him. So I don't think anybody was thinking that at the time. In hindsight, yes, absolutely. In hindsight, incredible.
And then De Ligt to Bayern Munich for 67 million euros was talk about daylight robbery.
Yeah, but the problem is that how much did Juventus spend to buy him? They spent about that much money to buy him, didn't they? So yeah. But yeah, they did. Yeah, they did well to at least get it back.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair enough. As for Inter, I think Pinamonti will be one that I think that 20 million euros for a player that is worth 10-5. Like I mean, it's just that I will never understand. As for but then Inter don't usually, and also we have to say Lukaku to Chelsea for 150 million is good business. Like,
yeah,
it is good business. Like, it just is.
Yeah.
No.
In hindsight, again, at the time he was incredible, but then again there was also the risk of he flopped in the Premier League.
Andrea Onana is a fantastic sale as well.
But again, in hindsight, I remember at the time a lot of people thought he was undersold. In fact, including me at the time. I
didn't think he was undersold. No. I didn't think so. I don't think he was undersold. I think that's pretty much what he was worth.
I thought, why the hell couldn't Inter have got more from him? Why haven't they tried to get more from him? He's just been the best goalkeeper in the Champions League. That's what I thought. Yeah. In fact, having said that though, his transfer fee did end up being a lot more than what it was originally reported. Remember, it was originally reported to be like just under 50 million. It's ended up being closer to 60. So in the end, they did actually get more.
But the best transfer ever Inter has done is selling Zlatan Ibrahimovic to Barcelona for Samuel Eto'o and 67 million, and get that financing Sneijder, Motta, Milito, Lucio, and Pandev. That's the greatest deal ever. That's how.
Is that Branca?
Yeah.
Is that Branca?
Yeah. Branca. Yeah. Lucio
he's just disappeared since then, hasn't he? Like he's just disappeared.
Yeah, but that's the greatest stroke of genius ever. Like that's the best deal anyone's ever done, because that financed all of Inter's Mercato and it was 5-6 players that walked right into the starting lineup and then into win the treble. So that's the greatest deal ever. Like, that's the greatest transfer ever, because yes, you lost a fantastic player, but you got Eto'o plus 60-70 million, and then you use that money to
no,
buy.
that was Inter's greatest. Juventus's greatest was selling Zidane and financing Buffon, Nedved, and Thuram with that money. All three for one.
Yeah, I mean, that is just genius. Right. Final question. Mohamed Wisha says, "Hi, Nima and Carlo. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Before I get to my question, I wanted to say I can't believe Nima wants to Americanize football. For fuck's sake."
Yeah.
You're too much. All you people need to chill with this. Like I understand that you're the one who wants to do the ridiculous penalties from the 90s. Don't talk to me about Americanizing football. Like the MLS penalties. The worst idea ever. It gives me PTSD just thinking about it. First question: as Oak Tree cares about growing the Inter brand to make a bigger profit, do you believe that Thuram will stay if they get Lookman? And why is it a priority over Leone? And 2, has Nike lost its touch with their kits? And final question: every summer the team that scares everyone in the market is Juve. What's happening to their transfer market strategy? I feel like it's non-existent, and I hope it stays that way. He's an Inter fan. So the first question, I think the Thuram thing is like we've already discussed it kind of, but I think Lookman is Thuram's replacement. I hope not, but I think so. And why is it a priority over Leone? Well, they feel they have their defense sorted. I don't necessarily agree. I would rather get Leone and get rid of maybe Acerbi, but we'll see. As for Nike has lost its touch with their kits, what do you think? What do you think about that?
Have we got examples of how they?
Well, I mean, I suppose he's referring to the new Inter kit and
Right.
Nike kits generally.
Is it not very nice, the new Inter kit?
Yeah, I think they don't look nice until you see them on the pitch, if that makes sense. Like every year they look horrible, and then you see them on the pitch, and it actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah, you can warm to kits sometimes, can't you? Yeah. It's like music. Sometimes you hear a song for the first time and you think, oh, it doesn't sound anything special. Then you hear it a few times and you think, oh, actually, that's quite a good song.
Oh dear. So what's happening to Juve's transfer market strategy? We're going to talk about this next week when we have a Juve deep dive. But what's going on, Carlo? Like, seriously, what's happening?
Yeah, there's not much, is it? Who have Juventus brought in? Jonathan David. They've still got the same issues. I think they spent so much money last summer. A lot of those deals were options or were loans with options to buy, or the payments come in this summer. So they're having to spend a lot of that this summer as well. And obviously they went out early in the Champions League. Yes, the Club World Cup did bring in a lot of money, but also they don't have a sporting director.
Yeah.
You don't have a sporting director.
Bit of a mess. I don't understand
what do you expect. I mean, you've got Comoli who's doing everything at the moment, and he was only just appointed like a few weeks ago, and he's having to do the sporting, the technical. They've just got a technical director now, so he will take a little bit off that. They still don't have a sporting director, so and they didn't even appoint their manager until just before the Club World Cup, and so the strategy for the summer started very, very late. And so, yeah, it is a mess. And they haven't been able to solve this. Vlahovic, who's been holding up a lot of stuff, a lot of deals. And also, you've got to remember their initial strategy was Conte, and they thought they had him in the bag. And then that fell through. So that tore up all the strategy, and they had to start again. They haven't got Colin Moani sorted. Conte said it looks like they've got done. They still haven't announced it. And Colin Moani, if they lose him, it's total disaster. They lose Colin Moani. There's no one left on. There's no one left on the market now.
Yeah,
because Osimhen's going to Galatasaray right now. There's no one left. So if they lose Colin Moani, they are completely effed up.
Yeah,
if they lose Colin Moani, so they need to make sure they get Colin Moani. And then, they're focusing a bit on outgoings right now. So Tim Weah and Bangula are about to be sold. They'll make probably about 20-25 million combined from those, maybe a little bit more. And so they need to bring in some money, and then hopefully they'll be able to spend that. looks like Sancho will probably come in. We'll see. Yeah, they've got gaps. They need a centre midfielder. They need a left centre back desperately. They need a right wing back desperately. They've got a few glaring holes in their first team, and let alone the squad. So yeah, they've got a lot of work to do. And as we said with Milan, once you get towards August, the number of players, the options run out, and the ability to do business with clubs who then need to find replacements for their players, the prices go up as a result as well. It becomes more and more difficult. So this is why you've got to do business early. And this is why Napoli did well to start their business early.
Yeah, they've done exceptionally well. Right. Those are all the questions that you guys have sent in. Please do make sure to send in all patrons to send in your questions via Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, DM, but preferably via DM on Patreon. We'll be back on Wednesday for a review show, won't we? On Wednesday.
Yeah, it will be a shorter show than usual, obviously. But yeah, we'll react to some of the transfers.
We haven't had a proper review show in quite some time, but then next week we'll get back to the Mercato deep dives and the Q&A Monday, Wednesday. And then we're looking to have Pedula on in a couple of weeks. We need to do a Inter deep dive and hopefully a Roma one as well before the summer ends, and maybe some other clubs as well. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff to come out, plenty of stuff to look forward to. So as always, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao, ciao.